Hi everyone! Today we'll be solving this easy array Leetcode question. Given two arrays, nums1 and nums2, sorted in non-decreasing order, we want to merge them into a single array also sorted in non-decreasing order. The final array should not be returned, but rather we'll be storing it inside nums1. Now let's take a look at some examples to illustrate. Suppose we have the scenario of nums1 containing 1, 3, and 5, and nums2 containing 2, 3, and 6. When we compare nums1 1 with nums2 2, since 1 is smaller, we do not do anything and move on to the next index. Since 3 is larger than 2, we know this needs to be overwritten with 2, and we shift everything back one index. And then we compare, since 3 is the same as nums2 3, we do not do anything, and we move on. Since nums1's 5 is larger than nums2 3, we override it again to 3 and store 5 in the next available index. Since 5 is smaller than 6, it remains, and finally we store 6 from nums2 in the last available index. So we end up with a final sorted array of nums1. However, this approach is not efficient and difficult to implement because each time we're potentially overriding some element of nums1 and we need to store these values somewhere. Instead, what if we just start comparing from the last element of each array? This way, we don't need to override any existing value because the last n elements of nums1 is guaranteed to be set to 0 initially. Now, let's visualize this. We start from the last index of nums2 and the last populated index of nums1. Since 6 is larger than 5, we put 6 in the last index of nums1, and we've moved forward the nums2 pointer. Now we compare 3 with 5. Since 5 is larger, we put 5 in the second last index, and we move forward the nums1 pointer. We compare 3 with 3. Since they're the same, we populate 3 from the nums2 array, and we move forward the nums2 pointer. Essentially what we're doing here is, as long as we are populating the nums1 array with a nums2 value, we move forward the nums2 pointer. And if we are populating the nums1 array with a nums1 value, we move forward the nums1 pointer. So, where we left off, 3 is larger than 2, so we want to populate the nums1 array with 3, and again, we move forward the nums1 pointer. Since 1 is smaller than 2, we need to populate nums1 value with 2 from nums2, and because there is no other further value from nums2 that we need to check, we now have the final sorted array in nums1 merged and sorted in non-descending order. And now we're ready to code out the solution. So first, we start from the nums2 index that we want to check, which is n-1, and we initialize the last nums1 index, which we need to populate, which is the size of the nums1 array, -1, and we initialize the last nums1 index that we also need to start to check, which is m-1, because the last n elements would be set to 0 initially. And as long as the nums2 index is more than or equals to 0, which tells us that there are still more nums2 elements we need to check, we want the loop to continue. And each time we're moving backward the nums1 array, and so we need to decrease the last nums1 index. And in the case of if the nums1 index is more than or equals to 0, so there are more nums1 index to check, and the nums2 value is less than the nums1 value, we want to set the nums1 last element to that of nums1, and we decrement the nums1 pointer. Otherwise, we want to set the nums1 element to that of nums2 because nums2 is bigger. And we move forward, or rather backward, decrementing the nums2 index. And there we have it. So this solution runs in O m plus n time because we're only going through the nums1 array once.